Hello everyone. This is a little bit of a break from the pure tournament videos. It's not exactly a surprise that the tournament deck has not quite lived up to my expectations, which is a shame. And I think the main weakness is the fragility of the character chains, as it were. I had very few rangers. I only had one sage. They're not easy to keep alive. And as critical character, the deck could theoretically score a lot of points, but as critical characters got knocked out, it just got more and more untenable. So here I thought I would try to construct a Radagast deck. And obviously it's a different format, but it's try to make a real first-rate Radagast deck. So, like with most Fallen Wizards, I think we should at least, while it goes in the sideboard, we should start by considering our bomb card. Girdle of Radagast is worth 5 points, and all we need to do is plop it down, assuming we can get the preconditions. Now, we need a Protected Wizard Haven, which we have in the form of Roscoble. We need 12 stage points and 6 factions and/or six unique allies, 6 allies or unique factions, some combination of 6 allies and/or unique factions adjacent to Roscoble. Now, if we look at Roscoble, let me just do a quick geography. And we are going to basically make Roscoble the hub. So if we look in Roscoble, that's in Southern Mirkwood. So I believe there are only 3 unique factions that are adjacent to us. The Woodmen from Woodman Town, Bjornings from Bjorn's House, and the Eagles from the Eagle Eyrie. So we'll put all of those into... Actually, let's put 3 Radagasts, because we know we're going to want our Fallen Wizard in the deck. So we're going to have Bjornings. We want the hero version. We want Woodman. They'll probably give us the wrong version of that too. And because Radagast, so unique factions are neither man, dwarf, dungeon, hobbit, orc, nor troll. So we do get 2 marshalling points for our elves. So I'm going to at least tentatively pencil in the wood elves, although they're short on the chopping block. Now we're going to need to get ourselves up to 12 stage points. We will start with 3 points worth, of course, but we will probably want and I'm going to hope that I can avoid playing Gatherer of Loyalties. The main idea is that we're not going to be super reliant on our factions. Theoretically, if we played all 4 of these factions, Gatherer of Loyalties would only give us 4 points. Maybe put it in the sideboard, but we'll see. But of course, that might make it a bit harder to play our ramp up, because a lot of our stage cards require stage points themselves, so might need to fiddle with this a bit. Let's also put in 2 long bottom leafs and 2 smoke rings, because we're going to need access to the sideboard, and smoking makes it happen. Now, the other thing I want to keep in mind is that our party will have to start in Arthedain or Rudar, so we'll need to make our way over if we're kind of planning our hub to be around here. And that means that we should probably actually focus on graders for item, because we have Dead Marshes and Dol Guldur right next to our quote-unquote hub, and we'll probably be going to a grader item site somewhere along the way if we want to, reach over. So I'm thinking we should try to have like 3 grader items and a couple of majors in this deck. I'm not 100% sure this is the best way to do it, but I have a germ of an idea that I really would like to try. Let me actually start with the character because I don't remember his name. Hide all the dream cards. Calendal. So Calendal. And I suppose we're going to need a voice in the pool to be able to play him, because he's got 6 mind. But Calendal is a sage elf who can tap to use a Palantir he bears. And we're going to include him because I want to try basically, instead of using Marvel's Told / Voices of Malice, we give him the Palantir, and then we can tap the Palantir to do whatever hazards we want to remove. That requires a corruption check at 3 instead of 2, but, it's an item, it's worth points. We only tap the Palantir instead of the Sage. We can probably have some other stuff to support the corruption cards. Plus, I've just, I occasionally have included Palantiri in decks because I want to store them. I don't think I've ever done one where I'm intending to actually use it. And to be honest, I want to try it out. I'm wondering if I should be trying for the Narsalandoral chain. Probably not worth it. I'm just going to include as my other 2 Orcrist and Wormsbane. I also want a sapling of the white tree, and I'm going to want to include one more major item, but I'm not 100% sure what it is yet. I want to kind of work a few things out a bit more fully. The main idea I want to include sapling of the white tree is that I'm thinking for one of our stage cards, we have this one called Wizard's Trove. We can play the sapling basically, instead of storing it at Minas Tirith and then theoretically playing it at there, we can play Wizard's Tree. Bleh. We can play the white tree with a sapling that's stored at the Wizard Haven, and it also makes the Wizard Haven protected. Of course, for us, it would already be protected. So that means white tree goes into the sideboard. That's only one. So throw a voice, and I'm going to want the Glove of Radagast for the same reason we had it in the tournament deck. And I just need to check the rules about something because I don't really want to do overt parties if I can help it. There are 6 non-unique Mind 1 allies, and I'm trying to remember which ones of them can make a party overt. I guess none of them. I could have sworn that something. I just want to look at the digests before I go full in with this. Oh no. Okay, this is too much work. So we're going to put 5 Mind 1 allies in our sideboard. So resource, we don't want to key to elves anymore. I do wish, I have this program called Lackey. I do wish that I could, that one you can sort things by their mind. It's really useful. I can't do it here, unfortunately. So we definitely want Noble Steed because Noble Steed is awesome. But I think actually I'm going to drop out the Noble Hound for Radagast and go with the minion ones. Sometimes I like having the character be able to fight whatever it is, and the Noble Hound gets killed a lot. Something of ravens. Bunch of black crows. That's and again, being able to play them from the discard pile is just great. Oh, whoops, that's or warg singular. In addition, I'm actually going to put a few, because Fallen Radagast, if they're following him personally, can make, well, one, hero allies are worth full points, and if their hero allies Radagast controls have no movement restrictions. So while I'm not 100% sure I'm going to use this, I figure putting a few cards in the sideboard is a pretty cheap expenditure. These are 3 allies I almost never use. Oh, that was the Mistress Lobelia. These 3 are allies that I almost never use because their movement restrictions are too messy, but I figure if they are sticking with Radagast and can go anywhere, so like, you know, boom, instant environment, recycling whenever I want. Tom is just a sage and is insanely powerful, and he's worth 3 points. Mistress Lobelia, where the hell did she go? There we go. Mistress Lobelia can tap to search your discard pile or play deck for anything you can play at her current site. And now normally that's restricted to the very limited selection she can go towards, but in our case, you know, since if she's following Radagast, she can go anywhere. Mwahahaha. I also want to include Quick Beam because he's just awesome. And Blackbird, which is a special fallen wizard who can help us play some of our factions and is kind of stealthy. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 8 in the sideboard and 2. We have 10 allies in this deck, which I think is more than enough ally power. Like I said, I want to include one more, because I figure we've got kind of 2 easy major item sites, Burweedu and Sarn Gorwing, so we should have 2 we should have 2, sorry, I'm not at it today. We should have 2 major items. In fact, maybe even more, because you can go back to Burweedu over and over again. I just want to look something up real fast about the Noble Steed. Okay, so as long as Radagast is traveling alone or alone with his mountain of allies, he can actually move 6, which might help him like run all the way to the Shire to play 3, 4, 5, 6 to play Mistress Lobelia, or to, yeah, so okay. We still need a bunch of stage cards. In fact, one thing I actually only recently realized is that you can select for stage cards. So we're definitely going to want to have pocketed robes. And we'll probably want to have Master of Hues. That's the wrong one. Shifter of Hues, that's what it's called. Oh, and if we have pocketed robes, we should at the very least consider the cards that it can pull into, pull from our discard pile. So let's put in two crept along. I think it's crept along cleverly. Yeah. Two, and we'll want more, support resources, but that's enough to get started. We'll definitely want that. How does herb lore work again? Thing is, you have to tap Radagast for it, so I don't, and especially if he's traveling with a small company. I'll put one in the sideboard. Maybe it'll be useful. And I think that's also useful if the wizard's traveling without any other characters, so we might want to have that. Yeah, let's put one of those in the sideboard too. Especially since where we're hanging out, Nazgul are something we're going to have to worry about. So, we still need a lot more stage point generating cards. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6. We should have Wizards. Oh, we do have Wizards Trove. What am I talking about? Let's go back and look at the stage cards. Theoretical possibility. This one might be good in the sideboard just because it's worth a point. Untimely Brood doesn't really help us if we're going to use Radagast's glove, but it generates stage points and it's worth a miscellaneous point. So let's put Gatherer. I was trying to avoid it, but it's still relatively easy to play. It gives us 3 stage points, and it'll be it'll be worth. It boosts all of the factions that we're going to get by a point. The other one that we could theoretically do is Friend to Secret Things. That one, let me pull it up. Where is it? I might be misremembering the name. Great Patron is actually something else we should be considering, depending on which characters we're taking along. So this would, because a couple of our characters are worth 2 points. The main idea for this is that we could sit around a Welling Hall with Radagast and keep playing more Ents, but we'd still have to get them into our hand. I don't think it's worth it. I think I will at least tentatively include Great Patron, though. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and what we get from Roscoble and or the Deep Mines, and we've got a few more big ones up here. So I think that's enough stage points, which leave us 9. Oh, we'll want one more major item, like for use case, but we probably want to figure out who our party is going to be. So I figure we want prowess. We want the ability to support some of the stealth cards that we might be playing. We'll definitely need a ranger or two. The way this deck is designed, we shouldn't need too many sages, but I think I might want to include a backup in case anything happens to Kalendal. Kalendal himself has +2 DI against elves and elf factions, so we'd want a 3-mind elf. I could boost that by giving him an elf stone, but I don't think if we were planning on giving him the if we plan on giving him the Palantir, I don't want him holding another item. Could do Arwen, could do Annalena, could do Haldir. Depending, I'm going to put both Haldir and Annalena in the pool, but I'll probably only take one of them. Get a little bit extra flexibility. I definitely don't want to start with him. Odoacer is a minion character, but he's got a 1-mind. He's a ranger. He's mostly just a backup ranger who can theoretically help us play the woodman. He's pretty fragile though. We will also definitely want some Nazgul hunters. Peath and Eowyn are probably our two. And I'm not sure how I want to set this party because I am thinking, especially if we have Nenselda in the deck, I'm thinking heavy on elves and Dunedain could give us, some synergy with Star of High Hope. But it is the men who, all the people who get bonuses against Nazgul are men who don't. And plus 2 of our factions. Now, granted, none of our factions are that hard to pick up, but 2 of them we get bonus if it's a man trying to do the influence check. But I think I'm going to try to stick towards elves and Dunedain. It also, a lot of elves just feels more right for Radagast. So let's put Aladon Elrohir and Gildor in the deck. Get some power and some rangers. And any Dunedain that really jump out. Might want maybe have Halbarad and Aerith. Probably not in the starting party, but it is good for this deck to have 1-mind characters to sit in the Haven. Make sure it stays in play. Think for a second. 6. We're going to start with 9. I would like a 2 DI character that Eowyn could follow. Who's got 2? Because I definitely want to start with a Nazgul hunter. We are going to be hanging out quite a bit in Nazgul territory. Unfortunately, Denethor is too fragile. Maybe Erkenbrand? Yeah, let's put Erkenbrand in the deck. In fact, in our starting pool. Put Peath in as well as a possibility. And if Erkenbrand is in the deck, I think I want the Great Shield of Rohan as one of my major items because he's strong with a 5 prowess, but he's only got a 6 body, so the shield will boost him up to 8, and it basically gives a block on command. And that leaves us with 8 cards that we can use to help protect, like short events for protection. Problem is, now that we're at, because I probably want to include, definitely want to include some corruption boosters. I think a friend or 3 is good here. What's the minion version called? Join with that power? Oh, that's diplomat only. There's a friend or 3 just play. Ew, that's not great. Don't really have any diplomats here. Peath is a diplomat, and Radagast himself is a diplomat, but I'm hoping not to use stuff that requires diplomat power. If we search for resource, unfortunately that's a bunch of resources that force you to make a corruption check. And maybe we should just include some fellowships. We're probably going to have parties that are big enough for it. And Radagast is the one who's picking up most of the allies, so I'll put in 2 dark quarrels and 2 the Star of High Hope is going to go in the sideboard. That only now comes out when Nenselda does, especially since we can dump it into the discard pile with Radagast's ability and then tap her to pull it into our hand. And that, maybe 2 risky blows, little bit of prowess. And I think we have a resource side. It's fair, most of the characters are pretty big. We've got a fair amount of attack cancellation, and the Kreptalon Cleverleash can be recycled. We also have 3. I think I'm going to actually get rid of the Dark Quarrels and add in the more flexible concealment. Because we actually plan, I'm thinking we'll start with, Calendal, Annalena, Erkenbrand, Eowyn, and the ideal starting party anyway, and one of the 4-mind warrior ranger elves. That would be just making sure I have enough mind for all of this. 6, 9, 13, 17, 19, and then obviously as we move stuff to direct influence, we'd get a lot more. One other thing that I'm thinking of, though, is that, I'm going to get rid of one of the concealments. Maybe it should be the Kreptalon Cleverly, because we'll be able to recycle it. And I'm going to include a Barrow Blade, because I think a Dagger of Westerness would be a good minor item for us to start with. It gives us a little bit more point power. And I figure if I'm starting with Annalena, Calendal, we're not giving any items because we want him to have something for the pound. He's going to be holding the pound here, but Annalena can just hang on to this. She's not a warrior, but it won't matter. And while she won't have like full Nazgul slaying, or like if we pick up Peath at some point, I do think it's, a nice possibility of playing that. And it gives, the main thing I'm thinking of is if it's enhanced with Barrow Blade, the Dagger of Westerness is now +4 against Nazgul, and maybe I'm over worrying, but I am worried about Nazgul. Now, on the hazard side of things, we always start with Mouth of Sauron. I'm thinking, admittedly, this is half for, this is somewhat for thematic, somewhat because I view this as kind of the constructed/perfected version of the tournament deck. But I think part of it is just like thematic, because Radagast is the nature boy. But I think I want to do a wolves, spiders, and animals theme. So let's have 3 of these and 3 of Wake of War, and we should have one of them. I think it's Hornwrath. No, it's War, perhaps. Yeah, he's the one who boosts wolf, spiders, and animals. So let's have some wolf, spiders, and animals. Full Froth and Rage actually helps only animals and spiders, so... put some assassins in the sideboard, which means we should probably do Doors of Night. And an Unexpected Outpost. Let's have some power built by waiting. Some Foolish Words, and some Lures of Expedience. A little bit of corruption to... Oh, but now we actually need more. Okay, we'll need some more actual creatures. Don't want to do the Spider of the Moorlot, because that will mess me up in the areas that I intend to move around in. Could do some lesser spiders. They're pretty easy to play, and they can actually target ruins and lairs. Actually, I think they're better for this deck than the giant spiders are. And we'll have some dire wolves. And okay, I think we have, the sideboard definitely needs some more hazard depth. So let's add some slayers. And we also could use some stuff that guards like the really dark domain areas. We are not well. Let's have the always have the. I always try to keep like one the Will of the Ring and one happened to those Slayers I added? Ah, there they are. Maybe some Ologhai for some dark, like real dark domain protection. We don't have any rivers. Should always have 3 rivers, pretty much. So what can I get rid of? Let's get rid of a Doors of Night. Let's put some Twilights in the sideboard, at least. I'm willing to not include them in the main deck because most people don't seem to take environment quite as seriously as I do. But get rid of a power built by waiting, and we'll only have 1 Lure of Expedience, which should be the Wizards. And we'll add in a few more. Actually, yeah, we'll still stick with the Lure of Expedience. Power. And put these in as a bit of corruption, sideboardy. And I think we have a deck. Probably need a little bit of refinement, and I am somewhat concerned about like how much I'm betting on the Palantir, but let's try it out. I am curious to see as to how this deck will perform after the main tournament. Anyway, hope you found this interesting and informative. Signing off.